Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Like always, I'm Brian. Now today's short video is going to be me installing the Cooler Master Seidon 120V into the Bitfenix Pandora. Now for it to be a short video, go ahead and click right about in this area and skip the intro, because I'm going to be doing a little bit of talking and that really defeats the whole point of a short video. I've been racking my brain. I can't decide if I want to do the hard drives, the wiring, this, what I want to do next. I've been getting kind of stuck and trying to figure out what's the best method. And at this point, really, I could go any route. But I decided to do the cooler because really once that's installed, it's not in the way of anything. And it wouldn't be that hard to slide it up and down based on the groove system here on the front. So even if it is in the way, I can slide it down, finagle the stuff, and slide it back into place, really without having to remove anything, only loosening screws, which is awesome. And honestly, this is actually something that Sasha over at Bitfenix requested. He wanted me to do a all-in-one cooler inside of this case, so that way if anyone ever had any questions, they could send them over to me. Or at least to my channel for further instructions and a better, more in-depth guide as fast as possible. And really this whole series that I've been doing is actually Sasha's idea. Do shorted videos as fast as possible. That way people can get in, get out, get the information that they want. And really that was a pretty great idea because not too many channels I've seen that on. So thank you, Sasha. I appreciate that for the idea. So basically this cooler is designed to be put at the exhaust, like back here, in a case. But since this case isn't set up to have a radiator back here because it's so narrow, I'm going to be putting it in the front in a pull instead of a push. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, push instead of a pull. And it's going to be pushing the hot air in, and then right here is going to pull the hot air out, the fan up here. I think it'll work just fine, and the cooler's, relatively lightweight, and I think it'll fit the case really well, so that's why I chose this. Not to mention it's on the side of inexpensive when it comes to all-in-one coolers, so this is a pretty good option for anybody on a budget, or a smaller budget. One last thing before I do the installation is I've already done an unboxing for this, so if you want to see that, go ahead and click on the box and it'll send you over to the appropriate video. So here we go. To start off with, I set everything out to make sure I'm good and organized and that I have all the parts that I need. You pretty much just need a screwdriver for this, your hardware, and then everything that comes in it. Since I'm going to be doing an AMD build, I've got the AMD bracket here. I don't need the Intel, so I'll set that aside. This is universal back plate. These are the pins you need, and the screws, or the fasteners that hold everything together. I don't know if I mentioned this in the unboxing, but I do like the fact that Cooler Master included enough hardware that you can install this basically 3 different ways. You can do it in push, you can do it in pull, and have it installed in the back using these. Or if you really had an extra one of these fans, you can install a push-pull and it wouldn't be a problem, or later on you can add this in if you wanted. I really like that. That's a pretty awesome feature. I'll start off just by assembling the back plate really fast. It shouldn't take much time at all. Basically you've got your back plate right here. The pins go in like that. And if you look, there's a little arrow on them that shows which way that they should be pointing in, like that. And then once you've got that set up, you just put the clip over the top of it like this. Done. Now I'm just going to set that aside for later because I don't actually need that right now. What I want to do is I want to get the radiator installed first and then worry about the pump and the CPU cooler, things like that. So I lied. The first thing I did was I actually applied the thermal paste. I just figured I'd get it out of the way now and not have to worry about it later, and really just getting it done first will keep you from struggling to get it in there once other parts are in the way. I honestly tried to install this the first time to no avail. The hardware it comes with does not really allow you to install it the way I wanted, so I'm going to have to put it in a kind of a pull configuration and install this directly against the case itself. So you're going to need your 4 screws right here, and I pre-installed the fan because really you need to get that on there first. It'll save you some time and some struggles because there really isn't much room once you get it inside the case. Go ahead and just get the screws lined up just a little bit. Not totally snug, but just enough that they're in the slots. Once you have all the screws in place but not completely snug down, go ahead and slide it to the top. Give them a good tightening, and then you're good to go. The next step will be installing the AMD plate. It's as simple as making sure the AMD logo is sticking out like that. And obviously if you'd be doing this on an Intel board, then have it face the other way, and that's done. Next step is attaching the retention bracket, and it's as easy as that. Now before you install it, make sure to remove this portion of the cooler. Apply pressure to the back plate. Make sure all your holes line up, top and bottom. At this point, you may need to go get someone to help you.
The next thing I'm going to do is hide the cable for the fan down the back side of the cooling tubes and clean up the way the cooling tubes look.
I went ahead and I doubled back the cable a few times, zip tied it down nice and tight against the bracket, and then I plugged it in over here on this fan port. Once I knew where everything was going to go, it was actually pretty easy to figure out how I was going to do it and where things were going to go. I honestly think that you'll be able to put a push-pull configuration if you want to buy a all-in cooler like that, or if you want to do it loop yourself, because this would easily fit a 240 radiator right here with push-pull, and you'll still have plenty of room to install a SSD on the back plate of the motherboard tray in the future. You won't actually have to do it right away, but if you did put push-pull with a 240, you're gonna have to get this tray out of the way, so it's kind of like a give and take. So that's why I stuck with this. I want to have as much options as possible, and I think it looks really nice inside of this case. Really the only problem is if you're going to be driven crazy by the fact that the Cooler Master logo is upside down, then that's going to be something you're going to have to deal with. But I like the way it looks, and it fits really well with the case. Alright, so in my last video I promised you guys a rundown on the temperatures that this cooler could disperse. Now for the heat test I used Prime 95, and if you guys don't know what Prime 95 is, it basically runs all your cores at 100%, and it puts different length computations through the different cores, so they're not all running the same computations, but they're all maxed out at one time. The Kavari processor behind me is an A1070 at 50K, and it is overclocked to 4.2. If you don't believe me, I just used the overclock genie. I didn't want any like people coming back at me saying I didn't overclock it right. I just hit the button, left it alone. This is on MSI for the overclock. And I will tell you that it was sucking down between 152 and 153 watts of power just with the system behind me for all the processes. So you can imagine it's putting out a pretty decent amount of heat. If you put a 150 watt bulb in an Easy Bake Oven, it would melt the Easy Bake Oven. At idle, the processor ran at 34 degrees Celsius. Within 15 minutes of the test, the CPU cores were at 65 degrees Celsius and the GPU cores were at 50 degrees. Probably just because that they're right next to them, and the heat was just transferring over. I'm not exactly sure why the GPU would heat up, but it wasn't really using GPU power. But like I said, it's probably just a proximity thing. After 30 minutes, it was 66 degrees Celsius for the CPU and 54 degrees for the GPU. 45 minutes, it went up to 68 degrees Celsius, and the GPU went down to 53 degrees Celsius. After an hour of testing, the processor itself was at 69 degrees Celsius, and the GPU was at 54 degrees Celsius. Now, I let this run for about 18 hours. And what I used to do is I used to run it for 24 hours just to check stability, because if you run Prime 95 long enough, it will basically make your system crash if your overclock isn't stable. But what I found is it usually will happen within the first 20 minutes, so you don't need to do a 24-hour test. But like I said, I ran this one for 18 hours, and I was going to let it go for the full 24 just to see how hot the CPU would get. But after 18 hours, it did 5 full passes of every test on every one of the cores. So that's 20 passes of different computations in 18 hours, which is way more than I really expected the processor to be able to do, which was kind of impressive. And the maximum temperatures were at 72 degrees Celsius, and the GPU topped out at 58 degrees Celsius. Now, after I shut off Prime 95, within 30 seconds, the GPU was down to 13 degrees Celsius, and within a minute and 40 seconds, the full APU was within good temperatures. I think it was down below 40 degrees Celsius. So the temperatures on that dropped really quickly, I think, after running for almost 18 hours. So that gives you guys an idea of how much this little thing can handle, and it's really quiet. I wish I could show you how quiet it is, but honestly, my full custom computer water cooling loop is louder than this entire computer, so me holding the mic up to it isn't going to matter, because all you're going to do is hear my computer anyway. But trust me, this thing is basically silent. The only thing I can hear is the little pump just... It's a little obnoxious, but once you have the panel on there, you can't hear it anyway. So this is actually a really silent build. I'm happy with the way it turned out. Alright, so I don't know if that actually turned out to be a short instructional video, but this was installing an all-in-one cooler inside of the Bitfenix Pandora. I would like to say thank you to Bitfenix, to Sasha, to all the guys that support me in this build. Really, thank you. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I'm having a great time building this, and I hope it's helping the viewers and people that are trying to build in cases just like this. Guys, don't forget to subscribe. Give this a like if you liked it. Leave some comments down below. I love your feedback. I really like having conversations with you guys for any questions that you could possibly have. If you do give me a thumbs down, I do encourage you to leave a comment. I don't care if it's negative. Make it constructive, though. I've gotten a lot of random trolls. I would like it to be constructive because I want to improve the channel for you guys and just, have an overall more professional channel. Don't forget to follow me in the links down below in the description. There's plenty of info that I'm always putting out through my social media, and that doesn't really make it to my videos. So if you want to get all the information and see some things before the videos come out, that'd be a great place to, start. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and this was installing an all-in-one cooler in the Bitfenix Pandora with a little bit of Chanley style. So for those of you guys that stuck around till the end, here's a quick close-up of everything. Here's how the cabling there ended up looking.